good evening, everybody. Welcome to Dermot and Phillip Political Podcast, special edition to cover what's been happening in Iran and the Middle East over the last 48 hours, which is an awful lot to talk about. And we're delighted again to welcome our special guest tonight, Ronan McGreevy from the Irish Times. Ronan will be giving us his insights as to what's been going on in that part of the world over the last couple of days. And just to get us started up, Dermot's now going to run through roughly, give a timeline for what's been happening since Friday.
Yeah, just very quickly, at the start of that intro, every time I see Donald Trump dancing, Phillip, I think of you. I don't know why. I just see you dancing like that at weddings or birthday party. I can see him doing the Donald Trump dance. I can. I think privately he does it at home. He's in the kitchen doing the Donald Trump dance.
I think you should get him on Strictly Come Dancing. But anyway.
Right. A lot's happened. I went to bed Friday evening. I said to Derval Friday evening, I said, I bet you any money we will wake up in the morning and Trump's attacked Iran. Well, lo and behold, it happened. I think it happened around about 7:30 our time, which was Saturday morning in Iran. They hit one of the buildings in Tehran where the supreme leader was in with his family. So he's been killed. That was verified last night. There's been waves of attacks. There's been attacks on Dubai, Qatar, Omar as well. So the whole Middle East is sort of blown up into a Middle Eastern war, which only 3 countries are in it. I want to start with you, Phillip, on this very quickly. With the supreme leader now being killed, how will that affect the war with Israel and America against Iran? And also with Donald Trump in the last hour coming out, and I think he said it on The Athletic, that he is willing to talk to the new leaders. Are we looking at a Venezuela type scenario again?
I think it's a bit more complicated than Venezuela. See, what we're dealing with here is the supreme leader, very, very hard line, and whoever succeeds him will want to have the same attitude to things. Who that's going to be, I think we might discuss that later. There's rumors it could be his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, is the second son. But the problem with that is he's not an Ayatollah, and apparently there's a very strict succession regime in Iran. They can't be seen to be supporting a hereditary monarchy, if you like, a hereditary system, seeing as they spent years trying to get rid of that with the Shah. Whether he will talk to Trump, they haven't talked up to now, so I can't see, to be honest with you, the mood that's on in Tehran at the moment with a lot of people, I can't see that happening, but I could be wrong. Ronan, what do you reckon? Do you think there's any scope for dialogue between Iran and America at the moment?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that having killed the supreme leader, Donald Trump comes out and says, well, we can still talk, and just the timing of this is very bizarre. I mean, you had the poor old foreign minister of Oman who went to Washington on Friday and told the Americans that the Iranians are ready to do a deal, that they were not going to stockpile uranium, etc., etc. And he was, they all listened to him very, very politely. And at the same time, they were planning this strike on Saturday morning. So I think in some ways this whole nuclear thing is a bit of a red herring, because the real issue here is that the Iranians, the Israelis and the Americans want the Iranians to stop supplying weapons to their proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis in Yemen, and Iran has said no. That they're there to talk about the nuclear deal, and that's all they're there to talk about. Whereas Iran basically, whereas Israel wants to curb Iran's capacity to, as we know, we've seen in Ukraine, to develop rockets and also drones. So I guess the bottom line here is I think whereas there's a lot of talk about regime change, I think regime change is not a goal. It is of these attacks. I think it would be nice if it happened, but it's not the primary goal.
Well, Trump went, sorry, go on down there.
I was just saying, look, on that, look, we know that from an Israel point of view, they would love to get regime change in Israel and Iran. They would love that. They really would. And do you know, from an Israeli point of view, they're saying we're this little nation, we're being attacked by everyone, and we're the victims here. But how about all the bombs and the relentless bombers they did to the Palestinian people in Gaza? I know now they're doing it to the innocent people of Iran. They hit that school, didn't they? Yesterday, 150 school children. Please tell me. I don't understand. I don't know if you or Philip do or can give me an answer. That school was not a military institution. There was no military there. There was no guns there. There was no bombs there. There was no nothing. So why was that school targeted? It's a school.
Well, I'll just answer that question, and I'm only going by what the media reports are. Yeah. That school is fairly close to a Revolutionary Guards headquarters. Again, I can't verify that. It's about 500 or 600 meters away. So that was the reason. The school itself wasn't targeted. Obviously, they got. This was a serious. Assuming that it wasn't a deliberate attack, right? It's a very serious mistake.
It sounds like they put coordinates into the computer.
Yeah,
one digit wrong could have caused that problem, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Whoever done it, look, and any loss of life is tragic, and that was horrendous. That was yesterday, but it just, I think we should have learnt the lessons from 2003, shouldn't we, Philip? From the Iraq War, where we went into the Americans and the British and went in to get Saddam out there, and it ended up being a civil war. Do you think the Americans and the Israelis have learned, and the Americans have learned any lessons from 2003?
No. Listen, Donald Trump ran in 2024 on an America First ticket. No more wars. Now, that went well. Now completely broken his election promises, right? The Republican Party seems to be, in certain numbers anyway, now seem to be waking up and smelling the coffee and seeing what's going on here. Marjorie Taylor Greene today, in a veiled reference to Donald Trump, said, "A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves." Now, it's not too hard to work out who she's talking about there. But what's going to happen here is he's gone to started this war without the permission of Congress. I know it's been done before. George Bush did it before. But the Iraqi war in 2003, that was done on lies, that there was weapons of mass destruction.
That's right, yeah.
Mass destruction. Now they've been told Iran has got a nuclear capacity. Yet last July, Trump announced they destroyed it. Yeah. Now, I don't think God Almighty could make a new atom bomb in the space of 6-7 months. So what was the real reason? He told the American people it was to get rid of the atom bomb. Now it seems to be regime change seems to be but why not say that at the very start? And oil, of course, as well. Yeah. So
I agree with you, Philip. I mean, there is a difference between 2003 and now, and that difference is this: that the Americans have absolutely no intentions of putting boots on the ground, to use that awful cliche. They're simply going to, and so the risk to American forces is fairly minimal, although some of them have been killed. But they're not going to be any boots on the ground. I mean, it would be impossible for even a country like the United States to actually affect regime change on the ground in Iran. We're talking about a country of 90 million people, 1 million of them under arms with the Revolutionary Guards, and as many more in reserve, etc., etc. I don't think that's the intention. Even though he talks about this being about regime change, it isn't about regime change, because there is no there is no alternative. In usual circumstances where you do have a regime change, you actually have a candidate, or you have somebody who is willing to take over. They had in 2000, and you also have your own proxies on the ground to do this. There's nobody in Iran with the wherewithal to remove this present regime from power. So this idea, and Trump said to the Iranian people, rise up and take this opportunity to overthrow your government. With what and how? I mean, like, there is no armed opposition to the Iranian government within Iran, none that we know of, unless the Americans and the Israelis have unless they have some card up their sleeve that no intelligence agency in the world appears to have it now. So I think another reason for all of this is it's more distraction. It's you've got two leaders. You've got Trump, who's under serious pressure because of the Epstein files, where there was recordings released last week, or news that there actually was in the FBI files a claim that Donald Trump had raped an underage girl. That was starting to surface in the American media. Obviously, we've got the midterms in October, but also Netanyahu is facing re-election in October as well. So I think all of that needs to go into this as well, as regards to motivations for all of this.
Both Donald Trump and Netanyahu basically trying to stay out of jail. Netanyahu's up on corruption charges as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I would suspect that is another element of it. I mean, you've got to, we've got to take all of those factors. There is the bang. I mean, when I talk about 2003, there is the bang of 2003 about all of this, because as we remember from 2003, the reason why the Americans claimed that they needed to go into Iraq, because Iraq was developing weapons of mass destruction, which was going to threaten all its neighbors and was going to threaten the United States as well. We know that was a complete lie. In terms of Iran's nuclear program, how do we know this isn't a complete lie as well? I mean, there was no imminent threat. Nobody seriously believed that. I tell you why I think, and I know I'm going on a bit, but I tell you why I think this has happened when it's happened. The reason why the Americans decided and the Israelis decided to strike now is because they knew that the Supreme Ayatollah, who has been hiding for the last 6 months, was going to be in Tehran on Saturday for a meeting with the security advisors. And they took this opportunity to take him out. They took the head of the Revolutionary Guards out. They took the Minister for Defense out. They took a load of different officials out. And I suspect that is the prime reason why they did this now, because the opportunity was there.
I think, very good point. I think Dermot actually has just got some breaking news that might have come out in the last few minutes.
Yeah, well, I have. We know this is a fluid story, so we will bring you the latest here on this channel as quickly as we can. Now, as of a minute ago, it is being reported by Sky News. Now, look, we can't verify this, so this is only coming up from one news agency, that Trump has spoke with Netanyahu and leaders of Bahrain and UAE. Donald Trump has continued to reach out to political leaders after launching strikes against Iran. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the US president has spoken with the leaders of Israel, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates as for today. As of 17 minutes ago, fresh wave of Israeli strikes on Iran, including a report of a hospital being hit. So that's being reported by Reuters. But there was also a report of damage to a civilian building in Iran. Witnesses told the Reuters news agency Israel strikes hit a hospital in the capital of Tehran. And also, as for 24 minutes ago, the USA have started bombing Iran again, where US launches Tomahawk missiles from an aircraft carrier. And there's a couple of pictures all on Sky. And the last bit, Philip, I'm sorry I'm going on, but this is the last bit. It's being reported that Trump will eventually hold talks with Iran, but the Operation Epic Fury continues unabated and with no sign of it stopping. So that is the latest we have where is he? There's the big boy. There he is. There's the boss. That is the latest we have. Brian, look, I want to start with you on this, if it's okay, on the talks of him speaking to the Middle Eastern countries, the UAE, Qatar and Bahrain. How important is it to keep them on side? Because we don't want a Middle Eastern war. Do you know what I mean? We don't want other countries being dragged into this. So how important is it him to keep them on the leash? Because they have been hit themselves, so they have a right, haven't they, to defend themselves?
Well, I mean, I think what has been demonstrated here is what's been obvious in the Middle East for the last 4 or 5 decades is that Iran is an enemy of most of the Gulf states. It has been able to survive in the region because of it has its proxies in Syria and Lebanon and so on and so forth. But in terms of the actual Gulf states itself, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and so on, it's regarded as basically a sponsor of terrorism and a direct threat to the Sunni majority nations. And I think that I think Trump, even if they were reluctant to get on board with Trump and with Israel, the Iranians have left them with no choice now, because they've targeted them as well, including Saudi Arabia, which said it wasn't going to allow the United States to use its bases to attack Iran, and yet Iran has turned around and attacked Saudi Arabia, which is not a very good idea when you consider that Saudi Arabia is one of the biggest allies of the United States in the region. So I think you know what Napoleon used to say: never interrupt an enemy when he's making a mistake, and the Iranians have done this very well now. You know,
but you know, just thinking though, if let's get in there, the mechanics behind starting this war. Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be under the War Powers Act, okay? Now, today, Donald Trump's favourite poodle, or lapdog, whatever you want to call it, Lindsey Graham, has come out and said that the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. Now, let that sink in. That War Powers Act has been in there for years and years and years. And now one of Donald Trump's supporters in the House or in the Senate is trying to say it's unconstitutional, trying to defend the actions of his boss, basically. So I don't think anyone's going to take too much notice of that. But there's one part of this that hasn't been ignored, but I think it's going to be very, very significant, is the Straits of Hormuz.
Yes.
The 24-mile wide stretch of water that Iran control. I think I forget the percentage, but a very high percentage of world oil goes through the Straits of Hormuz.
Well, yeah, I think it's between 20 and 25%, Philip.
Yeah, well, about 20 million barrels a day, I reckon, goes through it right now. At the moment, there are no ships going through. And that's for two reasons. One, obviously, that they don't want to get attacked. But secondly, Lloyd's of London have pulled the plug on any insurance for the ships going through. And have more or less said, if you want to go through the Straits of Hormuz, your premium is going to be X number of $1 million to go there. So that means tomorrow morning, the price of oil in the futures market is going to go up by 10, maybe 20%. And who's that going to benefit? Apart from the oil producing companies, it's going to benefit Russia, because they get the money that they sell the oil to India and various other peoples for. In other words, Ukraine are going to be the losers in this by a long way around, if you know what I'm getting at. So there's an awful lot more of things going to happen because of this action than it was initially thought of.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Philip, and obviously as well, it gives a lifeline to Russia, because Russia is on okay. Sorry, I was just my son interrupted me there. So
no,
in terms of this, I think obviously this is going to raise the price of oil, and paradoxically it'll give the Russians something of a lifeline, because the price of oil has if it goes up in value, they'll have more income or whatever. But
Yeah.
we have to see. I mean, it's not in Iran's interest to keep the Straits of Hormuz shut on a permanent basis, because it exports its oil to there as well. So we just have to see with this one, you know.
Yeah. See,
I
there's so
just
many
got,
people now. Sorry, go on there.
I just got a PDF here of it, Philip, just to show people and explain to them what you're talking about. Now, this was taken at the 1st of February, but if you see that there's a small gap, isn't there, Philip, between Oman and Iran?
It's 24 miles, 24 miles wide. That's what it is. Yeah.
And the second one here is actually taken from yesterday. Tankers turning round that need to go through there.
Heading away.
Heading away. Look, question to you on this, Philip. How do we know everyone depends on oil and energy, but would Iran be cutting the nose off to spite their face if they did close that?
Yes,
because their biggest import is oil, and they need that to keep their government going. So
absolutely,
wouldn't it be counterproductive for them to close it down? So
well, you see, it would absolutely.
Do you think?
Absolutely, it'd be crazy. They were losing most of their foreign currency income, but then you probably find Donald Trump will try and turn this around to America's advantage by telling the American oil producers to increase production and make more money for them. There are other alternatives to Iranian oil, but I mean Iran will be the ultimate sufferer if they stop oil exports. They will not be getting paid.
And also, China and Australia will be affected. China's probably the biggest buyer of Iranian oil.
It is, yeah. It is,
yeah.
So
China needs a lot of oil. Needs a lot of oil. So yeah, that's an interesting one there. See whether that's actually how long that one will last. But like again, I don't know if you've seen the pictures coming out of Dubai Airport and Abu Dhabi Airport and all the airports. There's 20,000 people stuck in the airport. But I understand that the Dubai authorities are picking up the tab for those people for the inconvenience, or if they can get hotel rooms, they're going to pay for them, and they're going to pay for their flights home whenever things reopen, which is pretty good of them now. I suppose we're just lucky Ryanair don't fly into Dubai. You know?
I do think that obviously this is a complete disaster for these places which have become international sort of tourism spots very quickly. So they're going to have to, I can well understand they've got the money to do all of this stuff. They're not going to get any visitors, so they might as well use the hotel rooms while they've got them. But again, this brings home to the fact that, you know, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, all these places have become sort of the playground of the West in recent decades. And the fact that Iran is targeting them means that this is like a sort of a proxy war across the Middle East that's going to affect everybody. And obviously the other thing to remember is that Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar are all sort of hubs for flights to and from, say, Australia, to and from the Far East. So it's not just flights to the Middle East are going to be affected by this. It's going to affect long-haul flights as well.
There are 5 flights a day from Dublin, either 2 to Dubai, 2 to Abu Dhabi, and 1 to Doha. Yeah, and they all pass through that area, and then it's going to be horrendous knockback for tourism and everything, you know. And like it's just, but the question's got to be how long how long can it go on before somebody cracks and gives and calls for talks or calls for a ceasefire? Because it looks to me as if the Americans and the Israelis, at least they're trying to hit military and political targets. But the stuff that's coming in from Iran just seems to be at random. It just seems to be there's no particular. Let's see, hotels are getting hit. People have been killed by falling shrapnel from intercepted missiles. So it looks to me as if Iran is not really caring who they hurt. Whereas they give the Americans and the Israelis some credit. At least they're trying to limit the damage to the people they're aiming at.
Yeah, they don't particularly care who they hit, and I suppose they're lashing out, as you can imagine. That's what they're doing. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. you see, because we're talking about a near war, right? We're not talking about trying to occupy places here. I don't think it's going to go on for very long. I mean, what are the Americans going to do? Are they going to keep decapitating the leadership of Iran until they find somebody who they can do business with, as Margaret Thatcher said of Gorbachev? I don't know. I mean, we don't know where this is all going to end. But what is remarkable is the fact that a country as small as Israel, with 10 million people, can do this with impunity. First of all, they have the capability of doing it, and secondly, they have the impunity to do all of this because they took out an awful lot of the Iranian anti-aircraft and anti-missile defenses were found to be suspect last June when they took out the Iranian nuclear facilities. So I'm hoping that this will be a short-lived thing, and we'll have another emergency podcast about something completely entirely different next week.
I'm beginning to wonder, what the reaction in America is going to be whenever it's fine at the moment. I know there's a lot of opposition to the war. It's not, they should have nothing to do with them, but it's when the body bags start coming home. I think that's when we're going to have that's when we're going to have a kickback.
And this is where I mean, I'm looking at breaking news on my screen here. The Iranians have claimed that they've hit the American aircraft carrier, the Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, yes.
I mean, if that ship was to be damaged or destroyed or whatever, the thing about this from the Americans' point of view, I think one of the things that they may be calculating, or at least Trump will be calculating, is that this is a fairly risk-free strategy from their point of view. They're not putting boots on the ground. So far, there've been 3 American servicemen dead, but in the context of a strike of this note, it's not a huge number of people. But if American ships start sinking in the Middle East, that could be a different story, because there is no appetite in the United States for this kind of action at the moment. Trump himself said that he wants an end to the forever wars. He claimed he wasn't an interventionist. Here he is as an interventionist, and I mean, there's minimal threat to to the United States as a result of the Iranian nuclear program. So he's doing his bidding. He's doing the bidding of a foreign power, in this case, which is Israel. So I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has a point here.
Yeah, Trump is actually pushing Israel's agenda ahead of the US. Would you agree with that, Dermot?
I just think the Americans are following the Israelis. I think that's what's happening. I think the Israeli Prime Minister, she said to me earlier, Philip, it's been in his ears for weeks, and I think he's just following whatever Israel does, and he's like, being the big brother, we'll back you up. Also, Israel in the last couple of hours have come out and said they are going to bring in 100,000 reserve soldiers for an operation that is coming. So I agree with you. I don't think America will put boots on the ground, but I think Israel will put boots on the ground, because I think Israel will want to go further. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think Israel will want to go further in their war against Iran than America would?
It sounds like a rerun of the what do you remember the thing back in the Middle Ages? The what do you call them?
The Crusades.
The Crusades. Yeah. And go on.
No, I don't see. I mean, Israel may be what do you call it? Mobilizing 100,000. They're not going to be. There's no chance whatsoever of Israel trying to invade Iran or to put soldiers on the ground in Iran. It's not going to happen. This is the problem with all of this. They talk about regime change, but you can't. If you look at the big regime changes in the Middle East in our lifetime, the first one, of course, was, well, obviously the Shah. That was an internal revolt. Then you had in 2003 You had
Saddam.
Saddam Hussein taken out, but that took a coalition of the willing, including the United States, to go in and actually get him. And we know what happened after that. It was a total disaster for 20 years in Iran. Iraq is still paying the price. Then you had in 2011, you had NATO strikes, which helped take out Colonel Gaddafi. But there was already effectively a civil war in Libya, and there were militias that were basically acting as proxies for the Western powers.
Yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken, I don't see any of this in Iran. This regime is going to carry on in perpetuity, because it's not like, you're talking about decapitation. Decapitation matters when you have a dictator like Putin at the head of it, but this is a regime that's infiltrated every aspect of Iranian society. So when they cut off the head of the snake, there's always going to be somebody else to take up the reins. So I mean, I don't know where all of this ends, to be quite honest with you. The only thing the Iranians will never defeat the Israelis or the Americans. They don't have the capacity to do it. The question is, how much capacity do they have to hurt both of those countries to the extent that the public say we want an end to this? That's their best opportunity.
That's the bigger question, isn't it?
It is. That's a great resume of the whole thing there. Thanks, Ronan. Now, listen, I know we're going to finish it up shortly, but I'm thinking a bit on a humorous note. It's not hard to be humorous at a time like this, but I'm just thinking back to the Hollywood film that was made a number of years ago called Wag the Dog. And I can't help looking at the similarities we've got here now, where the president in sort of invented a crisis to start a war. And I have to say, this is very, very coincidental. The war, if you want to call it a war, starting 24 hours after Bill Clinton testified on the Epstein files. And at that, we'll leave it at that. Ronan, thank you very much for coming on.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
I should just note that Ronan's new book about the former Irish Prime Minister, Taoiseach Sean Lemass, is being launched on the 25th of March in Dublin, and he's been launched by Micheál Martin, the Taoiseach of Ireland. And
who
best of luck with that, Ronan.
In Washington. I know you wanted to ask me about that. Dermot.
We're doing the next one. We'll talk about. I just want to give very quickly to the people at home before we do finish off. It's just to give an idea of where Iran is hitting, and maybe Philip or Ronan, maybe the pair of you could explain just very quickly how important Oman, UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait are, and why Iran is hitting them. So maybe if you want to take three, Ronan, you take two, Philip.
Well, I will take them. I mean, Saudi Arabia, first of all, is one of the biggest, obviously, oil exporters in the world. It's also one of the biggest purchasers of American arms. The Americans have bases in Saudi Arabia. They have a huge base in Qatar, and obviously they have a base in Kuwait as a result of the original Iraq war, and they also have a base in northern Iraq, which is a sort of a legacy of the Syrian civil war. So that kind of explains it from the American point of view.
Yeah, I think probably the common denominator for all those is the American influences in that area with bases and. Yeah. As you said, Kuwait after the previous thing in the early in the 21st century. I think those countries, Iran probably treats them as traitors, if you like, to Islam, because they've taken the Western view of things.
And Iran. So yeah, I mean that's that much is obvious from what has happened over the last few days.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. Sorry, Dermot, go on there.
No, I just wanted to give people a sort of why they were hitting them and why. And look, any more news, me and Philip will be back on with breaking news. Even if it's 2:00 in the morning, we'll be on. I'm sure Philip won't appreciate that one. Good luck with that. But come on, Philip, close us up.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Anyway, listen, thank you very much. I know Ronan, you have to get off. Thanks again for coming, and we'll see you soon. And again, best of luck with the book.
Thanks, sir.
Best of luck, Ronan. See you later.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Philip, do you want to go on just for 5 minutes?
Yeah, just 4 minutes. Yeah.
I want to bring this back up again, right? And I just want to talk to you a bit about it, Philip. That look, it is. You're probably right in saying they're very westernized, the likes of UAE, and Saudi Arabia and
Mhm.
Kuwait. A little bit of Iraq, I would say. But
Yeah. Well, yeah.
people need to understand that we do have the Shah's son is still alive, and he's making big noises about
Mm.
ruling Iran again, coming back and taking charge.
But has he got any backing though? Has he got anybody backing him?
Well, that's the thing I was going to ask you. If
Yeah.
he's saying, I want to take charge of Iran again, and they want to go back to where they were pre-Islamic rule, surely, I mean, I was watching the news with Derval earlier, I think it was Al Jazeera I was watching, and Donald Trump said, I want people to come out onto the streets. Well, he did get people coming out to the streets.
Yeah, and got them
but
killed at the
people
same
were coming
time.
out.
Getting
No,
killed.
people were coming out. No, they weren't. People were coming out and mourning the death of the supreme leader.
Yeah, well, there was
There
two
was no-
factions. There was two factions. They
Yeah.
were mourning the death, but they were also celebrating. A lot of them were still celebrating the fact that he was dead. But the problem is, which was a bigger group? I mean,
Yeah,
if the Shah of Iran came back into to Iran tomorrow, right? I don't think, unless he's got massive backing, American backing or foreign backing or whatever, I don't think he'd last 5 minutes. It would become
No,
very,
I don't
very
think so.
unstable.
And also Russia have stuck their nose in as well, haven't they, in the last 48, 24 hours by Putin's put out a statement saying the Americans were wrong to do what they're doing and condemning the assassination, which is an assassination of
Yeah.
the supreme leader. I mean,
I have to find that
I mean,
very ironic, actually, to Putin complaining about somebody getting bumped off. I mean, he's been doing it himself for the last 20 years.
Yeah, he has.
Anybody that opposed him, he's fallen out of the hotel windows, was his favourite way of getting rid of them.
You asked the question, how do you see an end to this? I can see this going on for another week or so. I really can.
Yeah.
And also, with just one quick question, Philip, with the James Trump coming out earlier and saying he wants to talk to the new leaders, I just want to tell you that I found this little quote, and it is somebody by I forget who his name is. He's a US correspondent. I forget who he is for, and it says he talks about it, about being this claims by Donald Trump that Iran's new leaders would be willing to talk to him. But he says, bearing in mind that the new regime is basically the old regime.
Yeah, it is.
And there's no ideological change. You've got to ask, why would President Trump want to talk to them now?
He does. It's all show for the gallery. There's more chance of how will I put it? There's more chance of a Rangers fan turning up in a Celtic shirt than there is
Well,
of
don't talk about them today, drawing 2-2.
Well,
today.
at least you got a draw out of it. There's more chance. There's no chance that any Iranian leader coming in now talks to Donald Trump. I hope he's made his will, because he'd be dead within 5 minutes. The Iranian people would not stand for it. It's death to America. That's the chance in Iran all the last few days. Death to America. Death to America. I mean, Trump's madder than I thought if he thinks he's going to get talking to the new boy. It's like Venezuela. They got rid of the Medusa and put his dummy in as number 2. No change. You know, so he's not going to do it. Anything Donald Trump says now is self-preservation at the moment. That's all it is.
So, look, where do you think it's going to end up? Nothing will change.
I hope it ends up that Congress rebuke Trump for going into war without permission, right? And they give him so long to sort it out, or else I don't know what they can do about it. But anyway, the Congress has got to reestablish power here, because what he's doing, he's making decisions he's not entitled to make, not just in this case, but nearly everything. Because the Supreme Court gave him more or less carte blanche to do what he likes, he thinks he can get away with it. So he's got to be reined in. Donald Trump is the biggest danger here, backed up by his sidekick Netanyahu. They are the two most dangerous people on the planet at the minute.
So if I'm the question, I know you're right in what you're saying, but the question I was probably trying to ask, sorry, is probably me not. Where do you see the end game for Iran?
What's going to happen in that? What do I see it? I can see. I can't. I really find it difficult to see what's going to finish it. Someone's got to give. Someone is going to have to lose face and say, right, lads, we made a mistake. Let's pull back. The Americans might pull back and claim that their mission is accomplished, that they destroyed a number of the key positions in the Islamic Guard, right? Even though they're going to be replaced by similar people almost immediately. And then Israel might say that they've negated the chance of Iran bombing them with ballistic missiles. But whatever reason is given, it's going to have to be taken with a pinch of salt, because chances are there's a lot more to it and we'll never hear about. But someone's gonna have to, put their hands up and say, right, lads, this has got to stop.
Yeah. But as I said before, Philip, any breaking news we'll bring to you first and fastest
Yep.
here. We'll try to keep you up to date. Sorry, we should have went live yesterday, but we just want to see how things were shaping up.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot more happened since yesterday, so
Yeah. So
That's
we
all.
will do another emergency stream during the week on this, and then anything breaks, of course. Donald Trump deciding to resign. Philip be throwing parties, and he'll be throwing a hoolie. He will come on with his party hat on and everything.
Just one last thing before I finish. Then one last thing. I think probably the most ridiculous thing of the whole lot is that all this campaign has been orchestrated from a bedroom or a room in Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Now, real presidents would do that in the room, a secure room in the White House. But the last few things that have been done from Florida, which makes me very open to all sorts of all comers to go into that building. And I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. Well, look, we'll keep a close eye on it. It's sort of the fact it's putting everything else into back pages, isn't it? Ukraine.
Well, that's his plan. That's what he wants. Stop talking about
we
me.
don't know. Nothing's more's come out with the Epstein files either.
Oh, well, it will do. It's not gone away now. I can assure you, it's not gone away.
We've got to do a show in that as well. Who's been arrested and who's not been arrested and everything. But guys, do hit a like and subscribe on the channel if you can. Do us a big favor. We'll be back. Might even do something tomorrow. As a little what's happening. But guys, we'll be back on straight away. Philip, do you want to take us out?
Okay, folks, that's very good. Thanks for listening to this podcast. It's a very important subject we've been dealing with. Not all we want to talk about, but we feel it has to be done. Thanks to Dermot and thanks to Ronan, and we'll see you soon. Oh.